Yes. So, hi everyone. I'm Ralph. I'm the systems librarian at Leeward Community College. I'm just being repetitive today, I guess. Uh, Habit. Uh, I play a major role in maintaining the library's online web presence, and I've taught myself a lot of about online accessibility over the years, out of fear primarily. Uh, that fear comes from well, I'm sure I don't have to tell you folks how important your library's website is to you, because it's not just a platform for um, promoting your services or listing your policies. It's a service delivery platform. We put our databases up on our websites. It's also a teaching tool. So obviously we want to present our databases and resources in such a way that our patrons can figure out which tool they need for any given need. Um, so the scariest thing I think that can happen is for an administrator outside the library to say, uh, we're having trouble with a legal issue, so we're going to take care of all of the websites uh, in the college, and you just tell us what you want posted, and we'll give it to this contractor, and they'll put it up for you. Of course, that type of legal trouble is would be somebody suing us for having inaccessible content online. Uh, I think all of us pretty much have a legal obligation, whether you're at an institution that receives federal funding, uh, oops, yeah, okay, or you're a government agency itself, in which case ADA comes in. But um, colleges, I think, tend to be like a high profile target for these kind of lawsuits, because the authoring of web content is so distributed. It's possible that a whole bunch of people who don't have a lot of expertise in creating web content are creating web content. So that's why I became interested in learning how to do uh, good online accessibility. Uh, so every time I do one of these sessions, oh, by the way, this is like the first of two sessions. Today is the minimally technical version. I'm just going to go over the concepts. Um, Tomorrow's session is going to go into details about what kind of code specifically you can use to fix issues, or actually go through different procedures and operations and things to do. Today, I wanted to reach the people who maybe don't have a lot or any web authoring skills. So I'm going to be spending a couple of minutes talking about uh, how web pages actually work. So the first thing I always start off with, and I always do it awkwardly, is the concept of text and computers. Uh, Computers often handle words as a string of individual characters and spaces and punctuation. So when you're able to highlight and copy and paste a line of text from one screen into another window, and then manipulate that text that you copied and like edited and changed it. When you see that happen, that means that that application is handling the text as, or handling those words as text. Words that appear in graphic images, on the other hand, I skipped a step. So the reason that's important is just in the same way that you can copy and paste text with your mouse. Screen reading programs, which is what blind people use to have the words on the screen read out to them, those are also able to pick up words out of a web browser or other applications. The words that appear in graphic images, those aren't accessible to screen readers, because those are just pictures of text. They're not made up of individual characters. They're made of individual light and dark dots in the image. So anytime you try to use a graphic image to convey information, it could be like a screenshot of a computer, product, or an infographic. Uh, those those sort of things, you'll have to find some other way to present uh, the information, the important information, to the to the to the viewer. The other reason I wanted to bring up the concept of text, I will I will get to that in a minute, but first I wanted to bring up a whoops. I'm going to share this. Okay. So in lieu of a handout or a PowerPoint, I put together a LibGuide. Maybe I should I'll drop this into the chat. Oh, that did not work. Okay. No, I forgot the point I was, okay. No, I remember the point I was trying to make. So, um, having the words on your web page in the form of text is important, but that's only half the battle. This illustration I have in the middle of the screen here, it's not important that you be able to read it. The point is both halves of this illustration have the same words in it. Just the one on the left side has visual cues that help you understand the structure of the document and help you absorb the information. So like this heading at the very top tells you what the document's about. It's organized into paragraphs. It's broken down into sections, and this heading tells you what that section is about. Here you have a list of items. Those are all helpful to the viewer in understanding the document. But of course, all of these visual cues aren't helpful to someone who is relying on having the document read out to them. So in order to make those clues available to your audience, you have to mark up your document. The different parts of your documents indicate the function of that particular passage. I call it semantic markup. I think that's a thing. Uh, Hopefully I didn't make it up on my own. I'm sure, I believe it. But basically it's when you mark up a document to indicate not just the appearance, but also what the purpose of that particular thing does. So headings is one of the things that you would commonly mark up. The heading at the very top, your page title, is called the level 1 heading. For web pages, you're only supposed to have one level 1 heading per page. I'm just scanning the text here to see if there's anything else I was supposed to say that's important. Yeah, you can read that. So the level 1 heading is your main page heading. If you divide up your document into multiple subsections, your level 2 headings are the headings you would do to do that. So here's a level 2 heading, there's another level 2 heading. So they're hierarchical. If I were to divide up one of these sections into smaller subsections, I would need another heading. Those would be the level 3 headings. It's important not to skip headings because someone who is listening to the document being read out, it might cause confusion if it says, level 2 heading such and such, and then level 4 heading. There you go. what's happened to the level 3 heading is. So never choose your heading just because you like the look of it in your editing screen. Always choose the correct level, and then you can modify the appearance of that particular heading to suit your taste. Paragraph should also be marked. Usually you don't have to worry about it because if you're using some sort of editing interface, its paragraphs are automatically marked. Lists, I'll demonstrate that in a couple of minutes too. When you mark a list as a list, when the the screen reader gets to it, it'll tell you list 3 items, and then it'll read off each of the items. Tables, in the old days, people used to use tables as like a layout tool. You should not be doing it. And it was easy because it would lock the thing into a grid, right? But tables should only be used for presenting tabular data, and there's a link in there for some detailed explanation on how to do that. The thing you have to worry about when you do tables is making sure the headings at the top and side of your table are properly marked as headings, and that helps the screen reader when it's reading out the contents. So it knows the difference between what is a heading and what is the actual data that you're trying to relay. Boy, my voice is going. Pardon me. So now I want to take about 4 or 5 minutes to give you like a quick introduction to web page authoring, because some issues you can only fix, or you can most easily fix, by tweaking the coding. So here we go. Okay. So I created a small sample web page here just to demonstrate how these things actually work. So here you have you have your main heading there, your subheading, a list, a couple of graphics, well, one graphic and a link. And the reason I was trying to emphasize the concept of words as text earlier is that the files that make up a web page are actually all text files, plain. I have to stop share this, and I'm going to switch over. Yeah, there we go. And I'm doing this just to kind of demystify how web pages work. And if you've never looked under the hood of one of these things, this is kind of this is what's actually inside of a web page. So the very top here, you have some boilerplate code that web pages have to have at the top. Here you have the page title, and you notice next to surrounding that you have a couple of tags. So this was and tags, as you can see, are enclosed in these little angle brackets, and they usually appear in pairs. So that page title, which is our level 1 heading, you'll see that there's an H1 tag, and then there's a /H1 tag. The slash indicates that that's the closing tag, so that's indicates the beginning and the end of your level 1 heading. Here's the first paragraph of that page. Notice it starts with a P tag and closes with another P tag, so that's marking the paragraph. Here's a subheading being marked with an H2 tag. There's an unordered list here. And unordered lists just have bullets at the beginning of each line instead of numbers. If you had an ordered list, then it would have numbers. So just choose the one that's appropriate for your needs. Let me pop back to the So this is the page that that code was used for. So here's my heading, my paragraph, my list, a couple of more. Here's that yellow box that's to the right side of the page. So in this case, there's a thing called rounded yellow box that makes that appear. The point of this being that you can have something that kind of looks like a graphic without actually using a graphic. So in this case, it would actually be readable by the screen reader directly without having to give some kind of alternative text. You know what? Let me font size. I'm going off script here. I have to get my keyboard fixed. So I'm just telling it I want the font size bigger. I'll save, and we'll look at that in a minute. Here's the coding to put an image, a graphic image onto the page. In this case, this is the location of the graphic file that's being dropped into the page. Here is the alternative text tag. It's empty here, and I'll explain why in a second. And here's the last paragraph of the page here. I'm looking at this and thinking, okay. Boy, this went a lot smoother last time when I pre-recorded this, and I didn't have to switch back and forth with these awkward. So I'm going to refresh this and notice the text got big because I typed in that command to make the text big. So that's how easy it is to change a web page, how to edit a web page, and just by refreshing, I can see the effects instantly. I don't have to use some sort of special, super specialized application. Here, I wanted to change what words are inside the link. Highlight, copy, paste. So this ahref thing here is actually how you put a link in a web page. There's the URL for the website that I wanted to link to. Save. Hop back to this. Refresh. And now you can see that just by making that little change in the plain HTML file, I've made a change in the web page. Should I also show, let me also show the, okay, yeah, I have enough time to do that. Let me quickly show you the style sheet here. So the HTML has the actual content of the page, and it has the tagging that tells the browser how to render, or tells the browser what the function of the different parts of the document do, and also tells the screen reader what the different parts of the document are. What I've got up on the screen here is the style sheet, and this is how you control the appearance of the page. So in this case, this is how I control how I want that H1, that level 1 heading to look like, how I want those level 2 subheadings to look like, and so forth. So that's just a quick tour of how creating a web page works. Most of the time, you'll be using like an editing program of some sort and not have to worry about it, but I just wanted to let you know what's actually going on under the hood. So you know what's happening there. And let me bring that back up. And this is more awkward than I anticipated it would be, but okay. I'm going to bring this up here, and just to show you how it would look actually while if you're what it looks like when you're editing a libguide. It's going to go into the editing screen for a second. And most of these come from a different page. Okay. So that's oh, that could have gone wrong. Okay. Okay. So here in libguides, anyway, this is where you would select your headings and your paragraph styles. And so the regular style they call normal, but here's your headings, H3, H4, H5. And the reason they start with H3, H4, H5 here, it's because in libguides, the page, the guide title is your H1 heading, the box title is your H2 heading. So when you're editing inside one of the boxes, they start with H3. I can hardly see the button to close this. Okay, that's so I mentioned alternative text, and I wanted to point out on the right side of the guide here. Quiet. This site from WebAIM, the WebAIM folks are a really good source for. Let me just click it for information about how to make your content accessible. And this is a great article on how to put the appropriate amount of detail in alternative text, because everything depends on what your intent is or what you need to do. So it could be that the graphic is entirely decorative or it's redundant or superfluous. So when I was showing you that other example and the alt tag was like the alt attribute was empty, where it just said alt equals, and there's the two quote marks without anything. In that case, that was a decorative image. It's not important. It doesn't contain any important information that you need to convey. And uh, when you do it that way, what they call the null alt text, the screen reader just ignores it completely. It doesn't even acknowledge its presence, so you don't waste the time of the listener. It's there. Otherwise, you may have to put like a short description. Uh, sometimes you need to put like a long description for something. And I have an example here. So we used to love putting up infographics in my library. I hated infographics because they presented this challenge. So this is like way too much information to put into one of those little alt text. Go away. And as you can see, if I try to highlight and click it, I can't get individual words. It's just one big graphic. So for something like this that has a lot of information, one option is to actually create a whole separate web page with just the information. So in this case, I have a little link underneath the graphic that says accessible text, and there is just the information that's on that graphic. So that's an option. Another option is to put the information that you're trying to relay elsewhere in the text on that page. I'm just checking my list to make sure I'm hitting all the things. Quiet. Okay. Also wanted to mention, oh, I'll go back to the other. These are the things I'm going to cover on tomorrow's session, but today I just want to pop back and go back to the general principles page. So I talked about that, talked about this, color. Before I talk about this, yeah, so meaningful hypertext links. One of power users, people who use screen readers, one of the things they do sometimes is they just jump from link to link to link to try to find some information. It's not helpful if all your links are click here, more info, more info, more info. So it's advised that when you write the text for your links, they should be descriptive enough that when you're hearing it read out, it's easy to tell what it goes to. Scram. And the other thing I wanted to mention was that when you create your links, you usually have the option of opening another website in the same tab or the same window, or opening another tab. Personally, I think you should try to avoid opening another web page in a different tab as much as you can, because when you do that, you can't use like your back button to go backwards to the previous page anymore. If you can't see the screen, it's hard to navigate back to your previous page. If you can't use a mouse, it's hard to navigate back to the previous page. So the recommendation is don't open a new site into a different tab unless you really, really have to. And if you do really, really have to, at least give some warning to the viewer that when you click this link, another tab is going to open up. I'll go into a lot more detail tomorrow, but one way you can do it, you can actually put in the text, there's just put a message saying opens new window, or you can put a little icon that shows like another window opening up. There's a trick where the opens new window message only appears when you're either uh, mouse have your mouse pointer over the link or have the or if you use a tab key to get to that link, it'll pop open. And that's really cool because it doesn't disrupt the visual look of your document, and it's still visible to the screen reader because of the way it's programmed. But that's tomorrow. I want to speak about color for a couple of minutes. Uh, WebAIM also has a site where you can type in the colors that you want to use for your text and your background to make sure there's enough contrast between the colors. I think that's something we forget often. Sometimes you want to put like white text against a colored background, or I mean, you can do that as long as the background is dark enough, but you just have to make sure there's enough contrast there. There's some tools that you can use to analyze the color on a page to see what the code, the HTML coding is for that. And the other thing I wanted to say about color is that you shouldn't rely on color to communicate information, or you shouldn't rely on it alone to communicate information because some people have color vision deficiencies. Let me pop back to the other tab. For an example, I mean, think of a subway map where you have the map of the city and you have the red line and the blue line, and if you can't see color, that makes it difficult. So one of the things we have on our website is reports of our annual survey. Be gone. So this is the way it used to appear as it was generated by Google Forms, I think is what we used. So it would generate the results in this pie chart, and it was terrible because it would just generate a graphic image of this, so there's no readable text. That was a no-no. And notice here you have to be able to recognize the color in order to link it to the slice of the pie to see what it actually corresponded to. So what I've been doing for the past several years, I've been taking that report and reformatting it as just a straight up web page. And this time around, I've actually put the numbers on the legend here. So you don't even need this. In fact, I have this marked as a decorative image because just by looking at the legend, you can see uh, what the percentages are for the different categories. Caption is tomorrow. Okay. And those are all things I'll get to tomorrow. Couple of yeah, let me show you this. Do I have it on this page? If you want to check your web page for accessibility issues, I like to use the Wave tool from the WebAIM people. You can submit your URL to that site and they'll do an analysis. They also have an extension, a Chrome extension, and a Firefox extension too. So I can just click that and hopefully no errors, yay. So it'll point out issues that you have to deal with. So that one's easy to use. But those accessibility checkers can only do so much because there's still going to be things that you have to consciously think about, like, is that graphic important enough to have to describe, or is it decorative? I swear I'm going to reset the timing on this widget to like 30 minutes so it doesn't. Oh my goodness, I did have a page 2 of this. Okay, so just a couple of things that I wanted to, more things I wanted to mention, but not go into detail because it's supposed to be the minimally technical version. So forms, I want you to keep in mind that the thing about forms is the labels and the blanks where you put the information in, those have to be labeled in such a way that they're linked together. You don't how many times have you seen a form or something where there's like a checkbox and to the right of it is the label for what that checkbox does? Makes sense visually, but think about if you're listening to it being read out, the checkbox is read out first, and then it tells you what the checkbox is for. Kind of confusing. So the way you get around that is there are codes that you can put in to the form that says that this label is for that form, that checkbox or that field. And that's all I'll say about forms for now. Oh, and scripts. I wanted to mention scripts. That's like another thing that you can use to add functionality to your web page. Two big things you have to worry about. That one, you can use a script to make anything clickable to do something fancy, but not everything that's clickable can be reached with the tab key. And that's important because if you have a physical disability and you can't use a mouse, then you won't be able to click on that thing. So there's some codes that you can put into your HTML that make that thing also tabbable. Is that a word? I'm making the word. So you can tab. So that's also in the guide. Um, and also about scripts, they can change what's on the screen. So there's some codes that you can put in to make it to alert the screen reader that that part of the screen could change. And do I have time? I don't have time to demonstrate that, but so it's just a couple of things to keep in mind. A lot of these concepts apply to Microsoft Word and Google Docs and things like that. Do I have time to demonstrate? I don't have time to demonstrate, but if you're editing a document in Word, you'll see on the menu bar styles, like a styles menu or a headings menu, where you can set the appearance of that you want for your headings. So the lesson there, use that to mark your headings. Don't just apply like a visual appearance. Don't just make it bold and push it against the left margin and say that's my heading. So make sure you use that style menu. Oh, and one last thing before I open up for questions. If you want to turn a Google Doc into a PDF, I find it a lot easier if you save that Google Doc as a Word file, open in Word, use the accessibility tools in Word, and then save it as a PDF, because the last time I tried, which admittedly was a few years ago, Google Docs did not do a good job on preserving the tagging as it turns your document into a PDF.
No, this was fantastic, and, like, truly thank you for sharing your, knowledge base with us here. Very rich with information and good examples, and a LibGuide to show for it that we can refer back to, so that's just so fantastic. Um, So I guess with that, we'll say mahalo to Ralph and everyone for participating in this session. Please use the session's evaluation link in the chat to provide some feedback. This evaluation link is also available in the session description of the schedule on the conference website. So if there's no further comments from our wonderful presenters, then we'll just see you guys tomorrow.
Thank you, everyone.